So one of the things that we decided to do very early on in the game development is, instead of trying to build one big storyline from the get-go, we wanted to touch on very specific subjects. So there were subject matters that were very current, that we were interested in.
We're telling you the typical story of how a group of hackers in real life evolved. So even that is inspired by real life. It starts with for the lulz and the memes from the like old days of the internet, and it grows into more meaningful, impactful exposure of truths to people. And then suddenly you start having a phenomenon where other people join in and you can start doing stuff that are spectacular, which is kind of the new way of dealing with problems and a more radicalized option in a modern world.
Going to California, having a new character, Marcus, but also now playing as a hacker instead of playing as a vigilante that was in for personal reasons. It's a big shift, but I think it's a shift we needed as a team, and I think it's interesting for the player because it's a lot of new surprises and new things for him to discover in the game world.
We had like a roster of like 30 characters based on the hacker society and maker culture and all these sorts of things. We started taking the list that we had and we started bringing it down from that point. But all the time we were looking at what San Francisco was and actually at what the hacker culture and community were. And we knew that being in San Francisco, we could no longer go with a lone wolf mentality that we had in Watch Dogs 1, so we opened it up to a more community feel in Watch Dogs 2. So Marcus was a constant evolution, and we wanted to make sure that he was a natural fit to the city of San Francisco in terms of his attitude, in terms of what his experiences were, and in terms of his capabilities of what he could do within the city as well.
Marcus is a young man who was born in the Bay Area, but his family was gentrified more on the sides of Oakland when he was young. He had quite a few incidents with being wrongly profiled by CTOS 1.0. So stuff like being in the wrong family, living in the wrong areas, but also having the wrong skill set, like understanding computers a bit too much, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So by being arrested and pushed to court, thank to God he managed to get out of there, but he got frustrated and saw what was kind of working in fishy ways, like under the curtain. So he pushed his skills and understanding further, became a smart hacker, and using this frustration, he wanted to funnel it in a positive way.
But he's also someone who attaches to other people very easily, and from the get-go, at the beginning of the game, you join DedSec and you forge bonds with the other members of DedSec.
We picked characters like Sztorija, who was going to be the voice of DedSec, and we picked Josh, who was going to be the genius who solves problems before you even realize that there's a problem to be solved, and Wrench, sort of the anarchist leg breaker, and Horatio, an exceedingly good programmer who was also working inside Silicon Valley. So all these individuals that kind of came together and fit and complemented Marcus so that he never felt alone and the player always felt like he was part of a family.
One of the challenges we have as we're building this world is that, we try to have a balanced view on what we present, but at the same time we're presenting often DedSec's perspective. So Marcus has an opinion on things, the DedSec crew has various opinions, sometimes they don't always share the exact same point of view, and for us it allows us to use those different perspectives to present their different facets of subject matter. And that's what we try to do. So Marcus oftentimes will let people within DedSec, speak their mind, and at the end he'll say, you know what, this is what I think, this is where I'll go. And then at the end we let the player judge how he's going to play. He's got a lot of freedom, but in terms of storytelling, for us that was interesting. So we're never saying, technology is bad, but we're able to say, technology can be used this way or that way, and kind of present the options to the player.
And that means that we can play a lot more and have a lot more fun with who DedSec is and what they're trying to accomplish. Now, one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that DedSec always maintains its sense of humor. We always wanted the lulz aspect to it. But their storylines, as they become more serious, you'll see they're starting to become a balance to where it may start off, for example, with satire in False Prophets, but False Prophets doesn't fit as well into the later story structure just because of where we wanted to go with it. There's so much of our own information that's being parsed out and being used against us that it creates a lot of injustices within the system. And Marcus is the type of person who's basically fighting for everybody to have a say and to have ownership over who they are. So for that reason, we have, he's a lot more socially conscious, and he's a lot more driven towards helping everybody else around him.